Hello, Jennifer.
Hi.
It's good to have you here in another episode of OrCast. And
Mhm.
so we're here in Costa Rica. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
And deep in the jungle, close to the sea, to the ocean. And we were thinking to talk today about the masculine and the feminine, also in relationship to sexuality and the way they behave. So to
Mm.
make it something which will be deep in a sense, spiritual, but at the same time practical, something that will really guide us and give us kind of like an opening to how we can find ourselves within sexuality, with
Mm.
this polarity to create better sexuality, more divine, more elevated.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of our topic, but we didn't say hello yet.
Yes. So hello, everybody. I'm Jennifer Akkad. I'm an authentic and soul embodiment mentor, really guiding people to connect deeply inside their body tissues, activating the depth of their cells so that the light of their cells starts emanating out and start guiding their life and much more. But it's all about an empowering journey of connecting to the root of the body, feeling safe inside your own body to navigate life from that deep core center connected on earth.
Yeah, and I'm Or. There's much to tell, like everything, we're also multi-layered. I've been teaching Tantra for the last couple of years, and I do a lot of men work. And I have my own creation for working with men. And a lot of it is really about opening the heart and kind of balancing between the different side of us. So on the one hand, we have like a men's circle, which is very much kind of learning the feminine, learning to listen to one another. On the other hand, like finding direction, self-practice. And I also do a lot of work which is organizational, like in innovation and creativity. So I really combine that. And I think my big thing is to try to combine all the worlds.
Mm.
And so my like the thing I'm going with is MSM. It's multidiscipline self-practice. And it's allowing us all to find our life, to find the different expressions that we have within life.
Mm. I hope the service that you're bringing. Thank you so much for having me on this podcast.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
So let's dive right in. Like when you think about feminine and masculine within sexuality, how is it for
Mm.
you? Like what did you learn about it?
Mm.
Because, and I'll say something. I think like for the ordinary men, like they'll think, what do you mean? Like there is a woman and a man,
Yeah.
and that connects, no? So what's more to that?
Well, the first word that comes is the discover of the dance, right? The dance between the feminine and the masculine. And yes, we are in a female or in a male body, but it's in the quality of the feminine and the masculine inside oneself, and how can they be in communication inside oneself to then meet another on the outside and be in that same quality of dance, but stemming from within. So the feminine and the masculine for me have been a deep exploration of honoring their qualities and discovering their qualities. And I'm still in the process of discovering their qualities. And I don't want to put one or the other in a box, because at the end of the day, for me, it's really in the felt sense and in the dance, which is the first word with which I started, which is to be in the curiosity of how they move together as we are softening inside of our bodies, because the masculine and the feminine energies are in our bodies. And if we go more specific, they're either in, the left hip or the right hip. So as we soften into these places in the body, naturally the feminine and the masculine qualities will come and they will enter in a dance. Of course, we can put a vocabulary and start tagging, right? Which we can do and we might be doing. But the invitation here is to be in their curiosity. How does my masculine move? How does my feminine move? And how do they make love inside of me? How do spontaneously, with this innocence of the child per se, how do they move? And then from there, enter the play.
Yeah, it's interesting because if I understand what you're saying is that you don't want to really tag them. You don't want to give specific qualities to feminine and the masculine. And I found that, it's always the tricky thing, like to say, because for instance, traditionally, they would treat to Shiva as the masculine aspect, which is kind of a pure consciousness,
Mm.
something which is directing light, bringing goal, bringing orientation. And the feminine, Shakti, is more of like kind of like the openness and the movement of life is something which is fluctuating. So you don't stick into these definitions to work with?
I mean, I can read in a book about this, I can hear people speak into it, but at the end of the day, I will not know until I feel that inside of me. So I'm meeting Shakti inside, I'm meeting Shiva inside, and then I know. And then it's not me trying to fit in a box of Shiva or Shakti because I read so, but rather having a direct experience with the energy, the quality of the energy that teaches me. And then my body moves along with that teaching. So it's a response to a power that's inside all of us and that we're here to reclaim rather than studying in a book and imposing something in our body, which can create sometimes of a split and a perfectionism. So I work with the body, so I'm very sensitive. If somebody comes in front of me and comes from the idea of Shiva or the idea of Shakti, or if somebody is actually in the Shiva or in the Shakti. And it makes a huge difference in the lovemaking and in the real surrender in the play of it, the dance of it.
Yeah, it resonates, because I think also, as you say, like we stick into mind concept and then we think how it should be. And at the end, like understanding, even like the term masculine and feminine are like mind creations so we can understand ourselves. And for me, it's interesting, because for years I used to think that I have a lot of like feminine side
Mm.
because I'm a man who can talk about his feelings, because
Mm.
I'm very sensitive, like to the outside, and then like at some point I've realized, even this definition, like saying that that's feminine, is kind of like an interesting thing. It's that's actually different sides also of the masculine.
Mm-hmm.
Like masculine that can listen, that open. So it's really about opening up, and I relate to that little. So it's like more about embodying like self-connection and kind of understanding the different qualities within us,
Yes.
so we can do that. And working with men, I can see that for a lot of men, it's just a lot of parts that we are not being able to connect to. So there's a lot of toxic
Mm.
masculine, which is like forceful and has a lot of power, and a lot of people would think that that's the masculine, but it's really more about deep connection to oneself and being able to be kind of a virtuose with it, to play and to move within energies and not to also be stuck on one kind of like form that you are.
100%. Yes, and it brings a smile in my heart
Mhm.
to hear this because it gives so much freedom to operate from there. And I understand that the mind needs information, and we are really, really conditioned to learn by receiving information, from books or from teachers. And we are here also as mentors and coaches and teachers. But I really believe in the power of transmission more than words. But now we are using words and it's 100% fine. But for example, books or even teachers, once I have a direct experience in my body, then somehow I will go and I will kind of confirm. So I will, attract a book that will be exactly in the experience that I'm having. And then it will confirm, oh, wow, okay, I'm not crazy. I'm discovering this inside of me. And okay, here's a book that confirms the direct experience of it. But it feels, for me, living life like this is living life on a blank canvas of innocence. It really brings back to the quality of the child, right? Of I'm discovering life. Life teach me. What am I gonna experience today? And there's a bit of naiveness in this, a bit of like innocence. But I feel that when we don't have predefined filters in our mind, it makes us experience really what something is about rather than from a filter of an idea. So that's why I'm sharing this. And yes, I really come from the embodiment place where my body is teaching me. And I cannot impose something on my body based on a concept. So that's really the space that I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I think we've set kind of like the mind around it, but I want to bring it into the practical aspects.
Yes.
Thinking like how does it actually work in sexuality and what can one do with it? So
Mm-hmm.
first, I think like at my work with men, I feel a lot of it is for me as a man also is just learning first how to really be in your power, be in
Yes.
your masculine. Like try that and understanding that there's a lot of the sexuality being created actually with polarities of these two aspects of ourselves.
Yes.
So if I'm as a man can really enter my power my assertiveness. Like this is what I want. I want to ravish my partner. I want to make love to my partner. And I'm kind of directing my light, finding my strength from my center, from my core. And that's a hard thing for everyone, like to really find this alignment within me and like to feel I'm whole and I know what I want. And from that I can take respectfully, of course, and then it allows the woman, and I feel, you tell me if I'm right, a lot of women really crave, first of all, this sensation that there's someone who can guide me, can take me, can lead me, and if I'm open enough and safe enough, I can surrender to that, leading to this penetration in every sense of it.
Yes, I 100% agree with what you're saying. And as a woman and as a feminine responding to the masculine, 100% when there's a clear masculine in front of me, or even when the person is not necessarily in front of me, we feel, again, bringing attention to the body opens our receptivity of being intuitive. So if we feel that the masculine in front of us is clear, directed, that there's a quality of divine also, without putting pressure, but that there's quality of clarity and ground and assertiveness and penetrative feeling, the yoni will automatically start opening and being curious to receive this. And it is exciting. It is exciting because that's it. It's just a response of polarity that clear masculine will bring a clear feminine. And vice versa. The female body can also be in a clear masculine, holding the space, and then he will also be calling in the proper responding masculine, feminine in a male body or in a female body.
So that's very curious. But what's wait with that? Because first of all, what you said was a lot of fun for me, and it really touches something that I feel when I think about men. It's not taken for granted there is a woman there which will be open to receive. Like when you said, I said like, wow, that's such a deep yearning for a man, like to have a woman really like a kind of a yoni which says, I want to receive you. I bring your light into me, and that's what I want. And please come in. You're welcome. Because I think a lot of the wounding around it first for men is that you feel insecure because you don't really know if the feminine wants. And I feel a lot of what happened within society, and we can talk about it in 4 podcasts about like the kind of like the historical damage between the masculine and the feminine. But I think a lot of it created women which are more preserved and they not don't trust men so much from good reasons also, and men which are more and more insecure, so they either come like forceful because they think that if they're not going to put force, they're not going to get it, or that they become weakened and they're kind of like very hesitant, so they're not in their full centered masculine.
Yeah.
And I feel there's a lot of vulnerability there. So just hearing you speak, I think it's a strong message for women and for men, like this possibility to come clean, or how it looks like, how it feels when it's without the wounding.
It's a journey, right?
Yeah.
It's a journey of claiming back our power, and you did name this also, that it's starting to claim our power, fine-tuning our antennas and our intuitive sense, trusting that a body will open or contract, knowing what's aligned or not aligned. And all of this requires practice and a certain discipline, without discipline being strict or anything, but it does require to bring back attention in our body, because we are all wounded we all have these abandonment, rejection wounds, betrayal. And the core of what you're sharing right here, whether it's in a man or in a woman, is what's magnetizing one man to a woman. Is it the rejection wound and the seeking validation in the other, or it's actually the welcoming of the rejection wound in one's body, finding the love behind this, the love for oneself, and from that space being in the assertive desire. And then it's a totally different polarity and a different way of magnetizing, which will ask from the man or the woman to release the rejection wound. So if the man, for example, is in his assertiveness of choosing a woman and wanting to direct because this is really authentic for him, this is really the truth. And yes, there is the fear of being rejected or not being accepted, but then the love for this rejection piece is so present that it just evolves into, I love myself so much that I'm honoring this desire. then even if the woman says no, there's no fluctuation because, and the same for the women, the women, if they are in the rejection, want to be able to hold their own space and not be chosen by the masculine. It's the opposite. The woman is really scared to not be fully chosen by the man, that it's not going to be enough. We all, again, men and women, we all have this.
Yeah, what you say resonates, and I want to put like the light on, but also rejection. Like a woman can reject from a place of like pushing away and kind of being scared, and then rejection can feel really hurtful. But rejection can be also like with a lot of beauty, like it's okay. Like I don't feel this resonance, so it doesn't have to feel like such a rejection of like saying no to you.
Yeah, and you said it. It's from where does the rejection stem? Is the rejection stemming from falseness and some fear, or it's actually stemming from love? And from love, we access the true desire, because maybe a man is attracted to you, but really it's not an alignment for you. And that's the wisdom of the womb that will say, thank you, I'm flattered. There's a gratitude, but it's not aligned. Even if sometimes the primal raw sexual desire wants it, that could be a possibility. But in the highest good of everything, it's not aligned. So it's then the rejection when the woman or the feminine says, okay, thank you, but no, there's not the pain in it. So because she's not naming it from the pain point, she's naming it from the deep self-love point. So the other person will receive that frequency, will receive this quality of vibration, that it's not personal. It's something that, thank you for honoring your needs. Thank you for honoring your truth. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to bring another layer into that, because I feel at the end,
sorry.
Oopsie. Something I realized when I'm completely aligned, like with my own self and with my masculine, at the end, there's nothing I want which I want that the feminine doesn't want, which means I could not want something that you don't want.
Yeah.
So there might be an offer, like how would that be for you? But then I don't put my entire ego about it, because at the end, if you don't want, so it's maybe it doesn't need to be. And then I think when we think about it this way, and we think about tuning to ourselves, and then what happens at the end is also just checking where is the right resonance. And then the more aligned we are, the more balanced we are and less activated from our wounds, will attract more higher frequency partners. And that will be the alignment, and that will be kind of the right place to connect. And it will create a mutual understanding just by that.
Yes, it's the resonance. The resonance will speak. And it's not the ego seeking to gain something, but rather a perfect orchestration of the divine. It becomes a meeting. It becomes a meeting where there's an exchange and there's a mutual recognition of the meeting and the divine orchestration. And it becomes nurturing and makes us evolve and grow. These meetings are we're not used to approach sexuality like this as a general society, right? We're not used to approach sexuality like this. Sexuality is most of the time approached in a very mechanical way, or very projected ways of ideas of how it should be, not connected, not intimate, not coming from a place of deep self-love or deep self-knowledge. And even naming desires for a good majority is not easy. So if we go back,
Can you say something about that?
Yes, if we go back to the basics of what do I want, what do I need, how does my body want to move, and the pathway to first connecting to oneself, closing our eyes and really asking sincerely the question, what do I want in sexuality? How do I like it? And how do I like to be touched? What type of touch do I like? What does it mean for me, sexuality? And to get to know oneself. So of course, it's not in a minute of sharing exercises that it's going to change, but just to bring the awareness that it starts with self. And it starts with getting to tap into your desires, your need, and to learn to communicate also.
Yeah, and with that, because we've been talking about it before,
Yes,
about
yes.
the Easter kind of idea of how we also communicate those things.
Yeah, yeah,
So I think the next layer is after we realize what it is I want, to be able to communicate that also
yeah,
and to listen and to hear the fact that, yeah, like maybe what do you want from this encounter? Within a relationship or within any kind of
yes.
an encounter. Like, am I present to what it is I really want? And then I can see if I resonate with
Yeah.
the desire of the other.
Yes. And again, the resonance and the acknowledgement of it resonates or not comes from the self-connection,
Mhm.
or else it's the mind filtering yes or no. So there's a difference. Is it the mind choosing yes or no, or is it actually the depth of the resonance saying yes or no? And we will often find that the body will say yes, but the mind will say no, or vice versa. So it's to gain that clarity. And in communication, I have a smile on my face because it's so fun. It's so playful, like to be with a partner or a lover and have this deep communication of offering all the space to share the truth and hold the space for the other and give permission. And in permission, there's eros, giving permission for all desires to be expressed, whether or not it's going to be satisfied. It doesn't even matter. It's not rejecting the other. It's actually allowing the other to express fully what they want and to allow the energy to circulate in the body. It does not necessarily need to go into the physicality of it. But yes, it's this play. This is where the masculine and the feminine for me start playing rather than being in the story of the wounding, but transcending it into, well, what energy wants to be expressed. And that's the healing.
Yeah, it's very powerful what you say, because what I hear, like in this allowance and this, because I feel many times we're intimidated, especially if the feminine would be kind of intimidated by the masculine. Like, if you want to do that,
Yeah.
and I don't want what will happen. But then, as you said, like if I can express my desires, and it doesn't mean we have to do it. It just means that this is something I desire, and then I can go beyond it. And if the feminine can listen,
Yes.
so it's not in the shadow. It's not that I want something and we cannot speak it, and then the masculine would kind of like find
Yeah.
a way to manipulate to get into somewhere, and then there's miscommunication and
Exactly.
wounding, because there is in the light, and we can talk about it, and we can see, and maybe no,
Yeah.
and it's all good.
It's transparent.
Yeah,
There's nothing,
transparency.
it's transparency. There's nothing hidden. There's nothing hidden. And that's what authenticity is about.
I love it.
Yes, transparency is really a key. And I wanted to share also something.
And just to say one thing,
Yes.
like transferring with oneself also, as we said, like
Yeah.
because sometimes we want things and we judge ourselves for that,
Yeah.
like which that it's not spiritual, that nobody would want that, and just allow yourself like this is what I want. What I'll do with that, it's a different story, and to make it okay.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And the opposite of transparency is hiding or lying, right?
Yeah.
And why do we do this? Generally speaking, it's because there's a fear of not being safe. We don't trust ourselves, we don't trust the other. We are actually not feeling safe enough and trusting ourselves enough that we are good. And so we start playing these dynamics, feminine or masculine women, like masculine, feminine dynamics that are people pleaser or doing something that we don't really want because I'm scared that this man is going to abandon me. That's the wound of abandonment. So we start compromising as women or as feminine, we start compromising the truth of our womb or our yoni, for example, for the sake of pleasing a man, but going against the wisdom of our body that opens or doesn't open. But then for what? Because it's fear at the end. So that it's fear propelling the movement rather than love. So that's why it's so important to bring self-love and to self-knowledge and to be clear with, am I coming from a place of love, and am I coming from a place of fear that is scared of losing the other?
Yeah. And I think when I think about what is the outcome of that, and for me, like many years of journey, is realizing that it breaks down more and more concept of even how sexuality looks like.
Oh yeah.
What am I looking for in that?
Yeah.
And it brings so much playfulness, like realizing, wow, I can, when I was really young, I was thinking like, I'm not I don't have anything about dominance within sexuality. And then I had a partner which was really into it, and I said, well, I actually can really connect with it. And I was thinking, I'm doing it to connect and please what she wants.
Mm.
And then in years, I thought, well, actually, it's a color within me. It's
Mhm.
something that sometimes I want to express. It doesn't mean I don't like also very spiritual, slow, tender love making,
Yeah.
but I can have this multicolor experience,
Mm.
which allows me to connect to more aspects of my partner. And then, as you like, I come back to this word you brought, which is so beautiful. It's a dance. We can dance and we can see, and it varies in each moment with each encounter,
Mhm.
and it's playful.
Yes, and it brings so much diversity, like diversity to be at the center, be in our power, know ourselves, know all the plays that we can have, and then bring this to the table with another. Because all of us, we don't have just one color to ourselves.
Yeah.
We have multicolors. So when we bring all our multicolors into a setup, not planning, oh, today I'm going to be in this, but rather being in the curiosity of the moment, the unfolding of the lovemaking and the sexuality, and responding to bodies, to spirits responding to one another, then it becomes infinite. It's in the quality of infinite where time disappears and where it's not about an orgasm, where it's about the play, where it's about energy circulating, where it's about primal or sensual or spiritual or dumb or whatever it is. It is what it is. It's not the mind having sex. It's something that is beyond the mind having sex. It's not even I need sex. I need, to tension release. It's a meeting.
Hmm.
It's nurturing. Or yeah.
Yeah, it's like poetry, everything you say. And
Mm.
just to say to our audience, of course, some of it we use words, and words
Yes.
are limited.
Mm.
But I think they kind of direct direction, and it's beautiful to hear you talk about it. I think it's a good moment for our surprise question, because I think you said something before which was I think mind blowing, and I kind of saved it for like that, because we've been talking about
Mm.
like the first dynamic where the masculine, like kind of like the man wants the woman and she's receiving, and there's a lot of potency in that.
Mm.
But then you've kind of like sneaked in the possibility of switching the roles, which I think for a lot of people it's like it's shocking. What do you mean? Like the man could be in the feminine, and the woman can be in the masculine? Like I would think like our audience was like, what is that? And how does it look like? And what are you talking about?
Okay.
Maybe,
I mean, okay. Yeah,
today.
yeah, we can bring a taste of it, but like we said at the beginning, there's the masculine and the feminine quality within
Yeah.
a man or a woman. And it's beyond gender. It's really beyond gender. So when it comes to sexuality, what it looks like if a woman enters more her masculine, again, it's not to put in a box, but it's a more driving energy. And it's a more assertive, it's more of a taking, like penetrative energy. And it can look like many different ways, like I'm not going to go necessarily in details of what, but it's also beautiful for a woman to be in her masculine and having a man in front of her lean into his feminine, which can be very edgy for most of men. So many judgments are on the feminine in a man, and I'm not saying that. For me, it's all about balance. It's the balance between the feminine and the masculine within a man or within a woman. Yes. And yeah, I'm staying. I don't give details,
Yeah, we
but
don't
if
have
you
to go graphic,
that's it.
but for me also, yeah, like still I realize that it's the most uncomfortable place for most men to be
Mm.
at.
Mm.
Because there's so much an idea of like I need to be a man, and there's so much from our childhood, like be a man, man's
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
and then allowing yourself to be in the place. Because I feel for me, how do I understand it? First of all, it's
Mm.
I'm willing not to know.
Mm.
I'm willing to be that my woman would lead me, that
Mm.
the masculine would lead me somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's going to go. And that's, first of all, frightening.
Mm-hmm.
I let go of control. And I think the first thing it meets man, it's kind of like, what does it mean for me as a man? Like losing direction, I don't know. And then, but surrendering. And I think it brings a lot of vulnerability, a lot of like space which I don't even know. And I feel, first of all, the first gift of it is just to understand how it is to be in the feminine, how it is to be a woman. It has so much power. Like I can actually feel it. And then also, as you say, like it's so playful. If the woman can direct the man into a place of complete surrender, and there is a different form of pleasure, even a different form of orgasmic energy there. I think men are so locked on the feeling of how it is to have like a male orgasm and a male um, kind of ejaculation, very um, very centralized in the sex organs.
Yeah.
And then connecting to the feminine is really something which is a whole body to be taken. And I think this is a very unique experience. And at the end, for me as a man, mostly like I'm very comfortable being my masculine.
Mhm.
And it's not that I have a huge need for going that place, but it's so enriching each
Mhm.
time. And it requires like a partner which is really able to also to lead this way. And I think
Mhm.
for a lot of women, it's not an accessible place so much.
Mhm.
You want to talk about that maybe? Why, if you find it this way?
Um, yeah, I mean, there's also, as much as for a man, it's difficult to enter the feminine, for a woman that is very identified to woman, it's very hard to be in the masculine because there's judgments around this. Um, but again, we are in a space where the key here is to release the judgment, and the feminine space is this dark void, right? It is the unknown. It is the total trust into guidance. So whether it's a man or a woman entering the feminine pole, it is deep in the mystery of like, where am I going here? And it's the quality that brings the no time, no space. It is this quality of the feminine and the mystery that brings no time, no space. And then the masculine comes with the quality of inseminating. It's the penetration of the direction, and it's planting the seed of where we are going in creation. So now we're going a bit deeper, but in sexuality, it's the same principle of I don't know where my body's gonna take me. I don't know how my orgasm is gonna be. I don't care.
Yeah.
That's not the point. I'm not attached, right? And the masculine leading follows the energy of penetration rather than the goal of penetration. It's not the same.
I like that.
It's the energy of penetration also being with the mystery of the feminine, with the mystery of how the feminine is moving, listening, the man, the presence, listen to how the unfolding is happening and directs with presence. And with the presence, the moment after the moment after the moment will be created. There's also unknown in this, but because the masculine is penetrating the void, which is also feminine. So there's a bit of a paradox here. So at the root of the masculine and the masculine sexuality, there's also feminine.
Yeah, I like that. And like what I've realized when you were talking, that the feminine is kind of higher in a way because it requires complete trust.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, as you say, like the feminine, just trust, like it's gonna lead me to the right place.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not keen on how it should look like and where does it go.
Yeah.
It's just gonna come, and it's part of a mystery, like that the great orgasm,
Mm-hmm.
and that cannot come from control.
Exactly.
The moment I control it, it escapes. It's
Yeah.
it's a really powerful thing. And then, but what you said about the masculine is also very potent. That like the masculine, of course, has a direction. He's allowing to say like, I want you, I want to penetrate.
Yes.
But then, when he's really in the consciousness and let go of control,
Mm-hmm.
so he trusts the feminine. He has to trust feminine to lead to the unknown.
Exactly.
I'm going there, but I don't know where it's gonna go actually.
Exactly. It's not the mind saying, I'm going there, I'm going to use this technique to please her. It has nothing to do with this. It's the surrender in also the pleasure of the feminine. The masculine receives, then as the masculine receives, it's becoming even more masculine because it's the polarity. Then honestly, if I can use the word God or the divine chooses, the direction appears. It's an energy waking up, and then it's really beyond the mind. Then creation happens, whether it's the creation of lovemaking or bigger. Oh, wow, this meeting between the masculine and the feminine wants to create this and bring this into form. It's beyond the
Beautiful.
mind. Yeah.
And it really revealed something that it's for the first time I see. So
Mm.
I usually think, and it's talked a lot about in Tantra, that the male kind of like projects the energy. And I was always holding the image of kind of like light coming from the crown chakra
Mm.
and then going from the lingam into the yoni.
Mhm.
And as a man, you turn yourself into a channel.
Mhm.
But then what we talk about really makes me think that actually this direction of the man has to be all the time tuned to the signal that he receives from the feminine.
Yes.
So the masculine doesn't know where it's going actually,
Mhm.
and he's letting the feminine, like this intuition, the yoni, to guide. So
Mhm.
he also needs to trust. He needs to trust the feminine to
Mhm.
know. And I feel a lot of what happens to us is that the masculine doesn't trust completely,
Mhm.
so he brings more technique and he brings more power because he doesn't think the feminine would show. So he thinks it has to be done the way I think, and that's
Vice versa also,
yeah.
right? And it's this leaning in trust. And the word that I want to bring here is the word inspiration.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's being inspired. So the yoni opens, it opens this dark void of creation. The masculine starts penetrating. The masculine receives information. The nervous system of the masculine receives information and codes. Then it goes to the brain and gives the inspiration of what wants to happen. So it's this, that's, the circular breath, or, like that's the dance itself.
Yeah,
So it releases all pressure in lovemaking when there's this deep trust in oneself first, and then deep trust in the creation that is happening and in the meeting. The whole lovemaking is an inspiration. It's a response of two bodies and energies. There's like even what you shared as a technique of bringing the light in and projecting it in. It's beautiful and it works. But beyond this, there's something that's even more mysterious.
yeah,
That light is there. Light is there. And then the the penetrative energy will bring it, but it will bring it also to the light of the receptive energy. And then at one point the polarities can change. And
yeah. It's really
exactly.
beautiful to hear you talk about it, and I love the word you brought, like inspiration. And the image which comes to me is that like the potentiality of this lovemaking, of this encounter, is a process of purification.
Yes.
It's kind of
Mm.
allowing ourselves to meet and to come back to ourselves, to meet together and to come back to ourselves.
Mm.
And then we purify all this wounding, all this controlling, all the mistrust that we have.
Yeah.
And it kind of becomes a gift, like the different qualities of the other and the merging together, coming back to your own self,
Yeah.
merging together, coming back to your own self. So it's a process of, yeah, like getting inspired by life, getting connected to the great mystery,
Yeah.
and forming something new, which is more purified and more cleansed in a way, more connected to source.
Totally. And I love, love, love that we're speaking about source and the divine and the light and this very high level of, let's say, love making. And I really want to insist also that there's absolutely no judgment on sexuality and primal, because it's a path, and our pelvises are full of different desires, and it's the discovery of this, right? It's the discovery of this light through the lovemaking, and it can be primal, and it can be all these textures and ways of playing, like we were saying, the personalities, to really honor everything and be in the curiosity of how it wants to play out.
Yeah, again, we use words, but at the end, I think this is part of the mystery of also lovemaking, like, because if we were spirits and we were like in a fairy world,
Exactly.
we wouldn't be looking to connect like that.
Exactly.
And I feel this is how it is, no? Like that within this penetration of bodies, of matter,
Mm-hmm.
consciousness, like then in the most dense place, like with body liquids, and
Mm.
there is such a big opening of a spiritual aspect, and you can frame it any way that works for you. It's all
Yeah.
good, and everything there is good. It's just an opportunity to explore and to find desires and way of being and way of having sex with a story and without a story.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. To bring all the colors of it,
Yeah.
and be in the student mode and the curiosity mode.
So wrapping up a bit,
Yes.
why don't you give a little
Mhm.
advice for our male listeners, and I will try and say something for the women listeners. Like from all that you say, what would be the invitation for men?
Oh, I mean, the first word that comes is listen deeply. Be present, listen deeply. When you put your hand on a woman's body, really be present with what's there and listen with curiosity and love. And the body will show you exactly where to go.
I love it. What I think, like I see a lot with the men come to my work, we sit in a men's circle, and now what I want to remind to the women out there listening to us is that just remember that behind any man there is a little kid,
Mm.
very innocent,
Mm.
very vulnerable. And of course, there's a lot of things that happened since then, and it might seem like, and so I think my main message is to be forgiven,
Mm.
to remember that in the moment you see behind all the male like aggressiveness or whatever it is you see in men, and you remember there's a little kid, like, actually this kid was brought up by a mother. He
Mm.
came from a womb,
Mm.
and he was completely innocent, and the goodness is there, and the more you'll see and find the goodness within your man, and remember that behind everything
Mm.
there's just like really pure wanting to be accepted and to be loved and to love. And I think that can bring a lot of healing, and I feel men are also very wounded just by the fact that they feel they're not trustworthy. They feel that feminine many times is not forgiven. So
Mm.
you're locked within the image and your armor, and you cannot escape it.
Yeah, 1%. Thank you. Yeah, and vice versa also. So, but yes, it's very, very potent. Thank you.
Yeah, so I want to say thank you for
Mhm.
this amazing opportunity to meet, and thank you to our listeners that are out there, and really put in the wish that everything we've been speaking will be of benefit for you. And and if you've listened so far, so really receive a warm embrace to all the aspects and all the side of yourself. And may you find more and more ways of expression with no judgment. And like this, find the inner polarity that will help you to meet your partners in the best way there is.
Mm-hmm. Oh, have fun also.
Have fun. Yeah. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.